So, darling, I noticed that yesterday, Jess Martin and Mr. Martin posted 4 bloody videos.
Apparently their battle plan is to badger us with a series of low-quality attacks.
I don't know. But, you know, in one of the videos, well, this wasn't from it was yesterday, but she was referring to her poetry post from the day before, where, well, she was complaining, you know, how hard it is. Oh, it's so hard. You know, when she whinges constantly, oh, it's so hard to do rolling R's. Do you know how hard it is, Mingy? Oh, it's so difficult. And, you know, I don't think it's hard at all. It's quite easy to do rolling R's, because, you know, I found that ever since, we've moved to San Diego, almost every road here, every street is called, El Camino Real. It's quite easy, you see.
Oh, it sounds so lovely when you say it.
So I don't know why she's complaining, because she's supposed to have like a PhD in Spanish literature or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Also, I noticed that they've been reciting Shakespeare as though he were Australian. To be or not to be, mate.
Oh, darling, it was quite comedic, actually. I know Hamlet is not a comedy, it's a tragedy, but the way they read it, well, you know, I mean, I don't know, with that silly accent and everything, it was quite funny, it was quite silly. So
that's not a knife, that's a knife.
So we shall leave Shakespeare to them. But I do want to mention that lately, Anne Rowlands and Joseph Conrad and I have been discussing Magritte, the famous Belgian artist, and as you know, darling, he was a surrealist. So in a way, I feel like, you know, everything is converging into one thing, the surrealism and the spider that we also mentioned a few days ago. And so I feel it is quite appropriate now to recite that lovely poem about the penguin I alluded to earlier that I didn't have time to recite last time. So we're going to recite a poem now. If you're not a fan of poetry, this would be the time to turn this off. All right. This is called Against Surrealism by James Wright. There are some tiny, obvious details in human life that survive the divine purpose of boring fools to death. In France, all the way down in Avalon, people like to eat cake.
The local bakers there spin up a little flour and chocolate into the shape of a penguin. We came back again and again to a certain window to admire a flock of them, but we never bought one.
We found ourselves wandering through Italy, homesick for penguins. Then a terrible and savage fire of the dog days roared all over the 14th arrondissement, which is to say it was August. And 3 chocolate penguins appeared behind a window near Place d'Enfer Rochereau.
We were afraid the Parisians would recognize them, so we bought them all and snuck them home under cover. We set them on a small table above half the roofs of Paris. I reached out to brush a tiny, obvious particle of dust from the tip of a beak. Suddenly, the dust dropped an inch and hovered there. Then it rose to the beak again.
It was a blue spider. If I were a blue spider, I would certainly ride on a train all the way from Avalon to Paris, and I would set up my house on the nose of a chocolate penguin. It's just a matter of common sense. The end. Thanks for watching.
So lovely.